Dear Big Agnes, I've been hard on you lately. I've said some things in recent videos that have been less than kind.
This zipper is really bad. They need to upgrade this for like 600 bucks for this whole system or whatever it costs. That's, come on, Big Agnes, that's pretty pathetic.
So, would I take this backpack ever again? Probably not. I probably would not take this backpack again. Now look, Big Agnes, they're all true and from my heart, but I feel like I need to make amends. So, in this video, I'm going to talk about my 3 favorite sleeping pads, and one of them will certainly be yours. I hope we can still be friends. Dan Becker.
It's been in here for like an hour and it smells like a Bath and Body Works. Dan, what are you doing?
I'm making amends, Emmett. I'm making amends.
All right, so we're talking about the Big Agnes Rapide SL, the Thermarest NeoAir Uberlight, and the Thermarest NeoAir X-Therm. So why did I pick these 3 pads? Well, these are my all-time favorite sleeping pads. Very different sleeping pads for different reasons. Very different weights and also very sort of different prices of all 3. None of these are really a budget sleeping pad. I will put links to a budget sleeping pad down in the description below that you can pick out if you want to. And then I'm also gonna have an honorable mention of a sleeping pad that many of you are probably wondering why it isn't here today. I did own it, I used it, let somebody borrow it, and then they never gave it back. I need to get these out of my hands. They're a little in the way because I can barely hold them. We're gonna start talking about first the Thermarest NeoAir Uberlight. It's literally the worst name in human history. Uberlight.
It's just long too.
But let's talk about this one first. So this sleeping pad is one of my favorite sleeping pads for one huge reason. As far as I'm aware, this is the world's lightest weight insulated sleeping pad. And yeah, there's insulated sleeping pads that say they're insulated and really aren't insulated, but this is a quality sleeping pad. But look at how small this is. This is a tiny sleeping pad. And not only that, this is the large version of this sleeping pad. So this is the biggest one they make width-wise. It's not the longest one. So this is the 72-inch in length, and it's the 25-inch in width. But this sleeping pad weighs 12 ounces. So this is the Big Agnes Rapide SL insulated sleeping pad. Obviously bigger than the Uberlight, and it's also significantly heavier than the Uberlight. This particular one is 26 ounces compared to 12 ounces for the same size-ish sleeping pad. This one's a little bit longer, it's 6 inches longer, but the 6-inch shorter version of this is only an ounce less, so 25 ounces, 26 ounces, much, much heavier than the other. It's literally more than twice as heavy as the Uberlight. Thermarest NeoAir X-Therm. This sleeping pad is by far the warmest of the 3 sleeping pads that I've got here today, but it's definitely not the heaviest. This one is, but it is the biggest though. It's the largest, like packed down, so kind of weird. It's the biggest, but it's not the heaviest, and it's also the warmest. This sleeping pad is much bigger than a packed Nalgene, but this thing only weighs 17 ounces. So only 5 ounces more than the Uberlight, if you can believe that. And this is about 3 times warmer. So you can obviously see that the size difference is pretty significant between all of them. The Uberlight is like much, much smaller. It's almost like a 1 liter little bottle. The Rapide is sort of the middle. The NeoAir X-Therm is obviously the largest, but what's interesting is that the Rapide is the heaviest by like quite a bit, almost a half a pound heavier than the X-Therm. But again, these are all specific sizes of sleeping pads, but they're all the large versions of the sleeping pads. This is a 78-inch long one. These are the 72-inch long ones. Not much of a difference, but significant difference though in size and weight for what you get. So let's kind of go into a little bit of a detail of why I bought these pads in the first place. I originally bought, I want to say, I think it was, man, it's so hard to remember because it's been so long. but I think it might have been the X-Therm. I needed a deep winter pad, and as far as I'm aware, this is the best warmth to weight ratio of any sleeping pad out there. This is a 6.9 R value pad. I have had this sit directly on snow with just obviously a tent bottom, which is very, very thin nylon in most situations, and been toasty warm. You literally don't feel any cold coming up from underneath you. So, you know, in single digit Fahrenheit temperatures for sure. That's why I bought this pad. Actually, the next pad I think I bought was this one here. This is the ultralight. And the reason I bought this is because I was just really trying to go as ultralight as humanly possible. And like I said before, this is probably the lightest weight sleeping pad you can buy at the quality that you're getting here. It's a 2.3 R value pad. I've had this into the 40s, the low 40s Fahrenheit, and been totally fine on it. So you could almost take this into the 30-degree temperatures before I think you're gonna start to feel potentially a chill. Maybe some of you have had the experiences out there of taking this pad a little bit colder, and you could comment below of what your experiences have been, but for sure this is a summer pad, like a late spring, maybe early fall, like kind of like right now where it's about 50 degrees out. That's about when I would want to take this pad out, you know, not much colder than that. And then I bought this pad. And the reason I bought the Repeat is because, well, I was just looking for a more comfortable pad, a better sleeping experience. And I had originally bought the Q-Core SLX, which is the green pad. Looks just like this, but it's green, and it's a lesser R value. I think that one's 3.2. Where this pad is actually a 4.2 R value. So this you can certainly get below freezing. I would say that this is almost a winter pad. And it probably is a winter pad for most people. So you could get this down to 20 degrees Fahrenheit on snow and more than likely be fine on it. I've had this down very cold recently, actually, not on snow. So I think snow does make a difference though. So the temperature around you may be really cold, but underneath you is where you're getting insulated from. So keep that in mind. So just because the temperature may be colder, pay attention if there's cold ground too. So that does make a big difference in the sleeping pad that you're getting. But that's the whole point of purchasing this sleeping pad. Now, what's the most comfortable of these three? It's definitely going to be the Repeat. I have gotten the best sleep for sure on this. I mean, look at the loft on this alone. It is super thick, and then it sort of bows up on the sides here, which does stop me from sort of rolling off of the pad. And you don't really feel the bulging on the sides here. You would think you would, like that would be bothersome. I know there's some sleeping pad manufacturers, sleeping pad manufacturers that like sort of build in like a pillow at the top. I think that's really uncomfortable. It's unnatural. It's like, I don't like those at all, and you definitely know it's when that's there, but on the sides here, I don't feel it at all. And then obviously, if I'm gonna go in the winter, I'm taking the X-Therm for sure, 100%. That's gonna be by far the warmest. Let's talk about durability for a second. So the durability of these pads is, this is by far the least durable. This is only a 15 denier nylon, which if you don't know what that means, just know that the material on the outside of the pad, that just means that it's pretty thin. So the chances of this getting punctured is certainly a real thing. This one doesn't list the thickness of the denier of nylon. It just says that it's a durable nylon on their website. If I had to guess, I'm gonna say it's gotta be 20 or 30, maybe more. D nylon. Maybe somebody out there that knows more about the sleeping pad than me would know whether or not that's correct or not. So put that in the comments below if you do know that. All right. The Neo X-Therm, 30 denier on the top, 70 denier on the bottom. So this is by far the most durable. So this is like sort of the bomb-proof sleeping pad. So if you're a person who's really clumsy with your sleeping pads and you know, you just don't pay attention very often and you're dragging them on rocks or there's a lot of pine needles around or cactus or whatever, this might be the sleeping pad for you. But these three pads also have very different prices. The least expensive one is going to be the Repeat SL. That's kind of nice. As this is set up, this particular pad, the 25-inch wide pad by 78 inches long, is $200 on Big Agnes's website. The Thermarest Uberlight, as set up here, they don't make this in a rectangle version that I'm aware of. If they do, somebody put that in the comments below, but I couldn't find it. So this is a mummy style pad. This one is $240. Now this is a 25-inch wide and 72-inch long pad. The 78-inch version was like another 10 bucks more, so it was $250. And then you jump up to this. This is actually the Thermarest Max version of this pad. And I think it's only called Max because it's a rectangle pad. It's not the mummy version of this pad. But this pad is $270. So let's talk about the honorable mentions. I'll throw it up on the screen. It's going to be the NeoAir X Lite. This is the pad that I used to own. I loaned it out to someone, never got it back. It's not my favorite pad, although for some of you, I know it is your favorite pad, but the biggest reason it's not my favorite pad because the thing is noisy as like, I mean, it's just crazy noisy. It sounds like you're literally laying on a bag of potato chips. Every time you roll around, it just crunches and the insulation is super, super loud. However, that one is a pretty warm sleeping pad for what it is as compared to how light it is. So I know a lot of guys do like that sleeping pad. Now the X-Lite though does have the same R value as the Big Agnes Rapide, the red one I showed you at 4.2, and it is almost half of the weight of that. I don't think it's nearly even, I don't think it even comes close to as comfortable as the Rapide. So that's a big deal to me. But if you are looking for something that's really like sort of fast and light, like just to get tons of miles in, you might want to consider that one. Again, it's super loud. That comes in at the regular wide version, which would be compatible comparable to these, about $200. But if those prices sound absolutely insane to you, like you can't imagine spending like $200 or more on a sleeping pad, I totally get it. I would recommend that you look at the Climate Static V insulated pad. It's still a wide sleeping pad at about 23 inches. Its R value is 1.8, so it's not as warm as any of these pads, so it's, again, like a 2-season pad, but it's pretty comfortable for what it is, and it's gonna cost you right around 100 bucks. I don't recommend getting any cheaper pads than that because those are usually really, really cold. They say they're insulated, they're not, and they're usually very narrow, and you want a wide sleeping pad because then your arms don't fall off.
Okay, I made Emmett actually clean up all the tents and stuff out in the backyard, and he had some info about packing them up, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, so I just noticed that with the Rapide opening up the valve, it just like let all the air out super easily, and it didn't take any extra effort to like scrunch it up and roll it up to get it in place where I could put it back in the bag. Whereas with the Thermarests, the air didn't escape as easily, and it took extra effort to scrunch it up and just kind of force the air out to get into a place where it'll fit back in the bag. So just something to take note of.
Oh, by the way, though, we didn't mention that the Uberlight has the old valve system on it, and the X-Therm has the new valve system on it. So maybe that had something a little bit to do with the way that those ones deflated. So anyway, that's 3.5 backpacking trips right there. That's how educated he is, and probably also because he's hanging out with me.
So sort of a final thoughts. You know, it's obviously up to you. Each one of these pads, which are my favorite 3 sleeping pads of all time, has very different, you know, reasons why you'd be using them. If I could only pick one, I don't know if I could honestly say. Like I said, it's not going to be this one. It's probably going to be between these two. If I'm only going to buy one sleeping pad because it's me and I'm a deep winter person in the wintertime, I'm probably just going to say, yeah, this would be the sleeping pad I'm going to take just because it's the warmest. And it's still comfortable and it's bomb proof. This is probably the one. But man, this one is a very, very close second for sure. And if you're looking at a sleeping pad, sort of that all, you know, encompassing sleeping pad, yes, this pad is much heavier than the other ones at 26 ounces, but for the sleep that you get on this sleeping pad, honestly, it's worth it in my opinion. It's sort of a trade-off. That extra 9 or 10 ounces that you would be carrying during the day, you're gonna be much less tired carrying that 9 or 10 ounces because you've slept way better, I think. Although, you know what, you're still gonna get sleep on this. So Emmett, again, I can't decide.
You're just never going to give the people an answer, are you?
Never going to give the people an answer. But people were obviously in the last video commenting like why I didn't talk about the X-Lite and why I, you know, talked about certain sleeping pads the way I did and that kind of stuff. So I felt like this was a good video to make so that I could sort of better explain it and help people decide what sleeping pad they might want to get. So yeah, we will definitely see. I kind of feel like I need to write this next part, Emmett. It just seems to make sense.
We'll see you on the next one.